a meet and greet with the world's largest fish. Guaranteed when visiting Oslob in the central Philippines. No wonder tourists have been flocking to this once sleepy town. And as if on cue, whale sharks arrive just as tourists start streaming into the beach. It is quite the sight. Boats and people and giant sea creatures all floating and swimming and within each other's reach. I was within touching distance of whale sharks, locally known as butanding.
This is as close as you can get to whale sharks anywhere in the world. Locals here in Oslo assure that you can get a close encounter with whale sharks pretty much any time of the year.
But there are rules. The first, no touching. Well, I didn't touch any of the whale sharks around me, but a few may have touched me. Tourists we spoke with said they thought so too.
I didn't touch it, but it touched me by the tail.
There was two sharks encircling me, surrounding me, and I think one of them actually kicked me first, so I was kind of scared for a bit.
Rule number 2, you can't be within 2 meters of a whale shark's head or 5 meters of a whale shark's tail. But how when there are whale sharks swimming all around you?
I think there's a 4-meter limit. You have to be away from the shark. There were some instances where I'm pretty sure I got within like 50 centimeters.
How so many whale sharks converge in these waters every day has been the subject of a debate. Oslob's former mayor, now Vice Mayor Ronald Guaren, the architect of the town's whale shark tourism program, says whale sharks have been sighted in their waters for generations.
You will be surprised why these big fish, these gentle giants, come into our municipal waters. Then you can ask why. Why is it that from the many municipal water, why is it Oslob? So maybe because of our good biodiversity underwater. That's the reason why these whale sharks have been in our municipal waters a long time ago.
You're not yet 100% sure why so many whale sharks are actually...
Well, according to initial reports, we have a lot of food underwaters. Why these whale sharks are in our municipal waters.
But it's the food from underwater or from the surface. Environmentalists and scientists argue there wouldn't be a huge concentration of whale sharks so close to Oslob shore if it weren't for tour guides feeding them.
The actual term for what they do is actually provisioning, which would include feeding, luring, attracting.
Is there anything wrong with that?
Physiologically, ecologically, biologically, behaviorally, yes. So the thing with animals, even domestic animals, even your pets, if they have the stressors, and this is even worse if it's a wild animal because they're not used to interacting with humans, for example, because they're wild, is once you have stress, your immune system plummets. So for example, anything that would stress an animal or change their intake of energy would affect them physiologically. And anything that physiologically is not good for them will affect how they function.
Dr. YAPTINCHAY says because Oslob whale sharks now identify boats with feeding, they're vulnerable to poachers. Feeding also contributes to the destruction of coral reefs, and the whale sharks may not be getting proper nutrition.
So normally, a whale shark would be feeding a variety of species of plankton, small fish, shrimps in the water. And in Oslob, for the certain period that they're doing the provisioning, it will be limited to one type of food. So imagine yourself eating a hamburger 3 times a day or twice a day, let's say.
Vice Mayor Guaren rejects this notion.
We only give them a little natural food for them to appear in the surface. If you will not give them a little amount, they will not. They have been in our municipal waters since time, as I said, since time immemorial, and we only have this operation to help the people in Tanawan improve their life without exploiting our whale shark.
Indeed, Oslob's tourism industry has grown leaps and bounds. Resorts, restaurants, and shops are thriving. During the peak season, as many as 1,500 tourists visit the town each day. They contribute more than $1 million to Oslob's income annually, a fraction of which goes to fishermen turned guides. Aiki Nakahid is one of the roughly 300 members of the cooperative that has benefited from Oslob's tourism boom.
Sa bawat ticket ng mga turista na pumupunta sa amin, 30% sa municipal, 10% sa barangay, and then 60% sa TOSPA Association. Yun din ang hati-hatiin namin, equally divided sa whole association. Kunan namin ng mga expenses sa bawat araw.
For roughly $10 to $20 a ticket, money that goes to Aiki and his fellow guides isn't a millionaire's pot. But it's enough for a decent living, and for him to be able to build this house.
Mangingisda kasi kami, hindi sigurado na makabinta kami ng isda. Kaya sa ngayon, parang siguro kahit 300 ang per day namin, or kung suswertihin mga 500. Or, araw-araw, sigurado na yon kaysa pangingisda.
Sabi ng misis mo kanina, parang meron ka din daw sanang balak mag-abroad.
Oo. Noon, sir, balak ako nag-abroad noon kasi palagi ako nag-a-apply. Pero wala pa yung butanding. Wala pa yung butanding. Pero sa ngayon, wala ko nang magbalak na mag-abroad kasi nandito, may kahit kunting kita, malapit din yung pamilya sa akin.
Aiki says his goal is to make sure his children get the education they need to be successful in life.
Kaya?
Kaya siguro, sir.
Siguro pa?
Siguro kasi din yung butanding, thanks God's gift na hindi natin alam kung lalayo na sila sa atin.
That's despite his belief that their practices are sustainable.
Hindi naman kami nakadestroy sa habitat nila kasi kalahating araw lang nagbigay na pagkain. Hindi naman namin sila kinukulong. Kung saan sila gusto pumupunta, hayaan naman namin.
Fishermen in Donsol, another Philippine town whose waters are frequented by whale sharks, say they've likewise benefited from tourism. But they say their practices in Donsol are more sustainable for whale sharks than Oslob's.
Dahil dito, yung dalawa kong anak, nagtatapos na ng college. Actually, hindi lang ako maraming BIOs na ang mga anak na pag-aral sa college.
BIO, or Butanding Interaction Officers, is what the fishermen turned whale shark watching guides in Donsol are called. Alan Amase has been one since the ecotourism program started in 1998.
Kasi maraming nagsasabi sa akin, ba't hindi nyo gaya ng Oslob, magpakain kayo? Sabi ko, no way. Kasi nga, para maprotektahan din namin sila. Dahil kung sa pagpapakain, naging para sa kanila, naging maamo, parang aso, may tendency na pasukin kami ng ibang tao, yung mga hunters.
So, ang sa inyo, para mas long-term yung ganito?
Mas long-term yung sa amin. Kasi hindi lang para sa amin. Kasi tumatanda na kami mga BIOs. So, yung mga kasunod namin, yung mga anak namin, yun, dapat sila din naman ang pumalit sa amin.
To find out exactly how they're doing it in Donsol, Alan took us to what I can only describe as an adventure.
Okay, good morning to all of you.
Before setting sail, he had a few reminders and instructions.
The whales do not get in the water without my signal.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you to sit on the side of this boat,
Okay.
wearing mask, fins, and a snorkel. Okay. And we'll sit on the side of this boat, facing outside. Okay. And if I say, okay, let's rock and roll, that is the time to get in the water.
We had 3 hours to search and swim with whale sharks. Yes, That's right. Unlike in Oslo, where whale sharks are close to the shore, we had to look for the ones in Donsol, especially during the lean season. After about an hour of scouring the water, we saw boatfuls of tourists in one area. We were told whale sharks had shown up there.
Over there, over there, over there, there.
But after waiting for half an hour, we didn't see any. And then, there it was. People in the boat next to us were jumping into the water. So, as Alan would say, time to rock and roll. But the few minutes I was underwater, I could hardly see anything.
I didn't see it. It was already too late when I went into the water, you know, for the biggest fish in the world. It was moving quite fast. My guide was telling me it was under me, but I didn't see it. Plus the water was murky, but it was definitely still a thrilling, exciting experience.
Well, no one said we were definitely going to see whale sharks. World Wildlife Fund, or WWF, which helped launch and now supervises the program, says it's part of the deal.
Ang kaibahan daw dito sa Donsol, more excitement yung nandito sa Donsol. Kasi nga hindi mo makita, they're spotting the whale sharks. So hindi mo makita kung nasaan sila. But when they are spotting the whale sharks, so yun yung nagkakaroon ng parang excitement yung mga turista.
It's a win-win approach. Everyone in Donsol seems to agree. WWF's Borsa says it's even had an impact on the town's fishing industry.
Malaking bagay yung yung because of butanding or whale shark. Parang tumaas yung kamalayan ng tao in terms of managing their resources like the marine resources, because they have now they call it marine protected area. So they are maintaining this marine protected area just to improve and increase the productivity of the ocean or the marine resources.
The possible adverse effects of Oslob's practices may still be years in the making. But this, Dr. YAPTINCHAY knows for sure.
Donsol started out as a conservation project to protect the sharks. But in Oslob, I think it's a different case because it started out more like a business than a conservation project.
It is, to a certain extent, a matter of perspective. But in the end, there's only one ocean. So whatever happens in Oslo could be felt in Donsol and elsewhere in time.
With the global whale shark population declining by more than half over the last 75 years, various organizations have stepped up their efforts to protect the species. The World Wildlife Fund, for instance, is working with governments all over the world to develop and implement codes of conduct for tourists swimming with whale sharks.